Hi, this is Pastor Jeff, and I'm here in my neighborhood again. Thanks for joining me and my buddy Willie. It's a breezy day on my front porch. I had to come inside because the wind was blowing my tripod around. So I wonder, are you wearing a mask more often now? Just a few weeks ago, the number of us wearing masks was small. And they might have elicited negative feelings or comments. People might have said, well, why didn't they donate that mask? Or don't they know that masks don't work? But now, a lot of that is changing. Millions of us are wearing masks. I have to admit, I was a slow convert. I was pretty uncomfortable wearing one. And I even said to Lisa at one point, I'll be fine. But she said, you may be fine. But what if you give an illness to someone you care about? What if you get sick and then I get sick? And suddenly, wearing a mask wasn't just about my choice anymore. Now, I must admit, I don't like it. The elastic on my mask pulls at my ears. If you wear glasses, it probably makes your glasses fog up. It's harder to breathe. Just the other day, I was at the store and I watched someone ahead of me in line try to ask a question to the person behind the checkout counter. They were both wearing masks and they couldn't hear each other. I could tell that they were both getting really frustrated. And most importantly, remember, when someone is wearing a mask, it's impossible to see that other person smile. It's impossible to detect facial expressions. Without seeing someone's face, our social encounters take on a cold and eerie cast. Seeing someone's face is a crucial way for humans to communicate. Whether we like it or not, people have long built relationships with one another based on what they see. Does that other person look trustworthy? Are they smiling at me? Or are they scowling? Do they seem approachable? I read an article in the newspaper about this phenomenon the other day, and it noted how even our language reflects this need to see people's faces. If someone tells a bald-faced lie, for example, that means they said something that was completely unconcealed and offensive. Now, it's somewhat problematic to measure and evaluate people simply by the way they look. In doing this, we open ourselves up to some of our most deeply held and hurtful tendencies. Reductionist thought patterns about who people are that are different from ourselves, like racism or sexism or ageism, can be bolstered by the way we look at people and what we see in them from the outside. 2 years ago this month, I visited the Rwanda Genocide Memorial, where 250,000 victims of violence are buried. And some of the pictures on the walls as we walked along the memorial showed how colonial masters in Rwanda, in that country, had divided the Hutu and the Tutsi people based on the shape of their noses. So it is important for all of us to think long and hard about the way we look at others and what we see, or what we think we see when we look at them. But we look at people because that's how humans know each other. That can't be denied. When we can't see each other's faces, our instinct is to trust one another less. Is there anything we can do to change this situation? Well, in some hospitals, caregivers now wear their picture on their gowns so that patients can see who they are. I read a story about one designer who is offering personalized masks so there can be an image of the obscured face on the outside. That's pretty creative, if you ask me. Did you know that these ideas about the importance of faces is also found in the Bible? Psalm 13 is a lament written by a person who felt as if God were far, far away. And it says, "How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me?" When we're done here, you might want to read Psalm 13, where it also asks God to look on me and answer, and give light to my eyes. Your Bible uses the same language for longing, connection, and trust we find in one another's faces when it speaks about God. As a matter of fact, one of the most well-known verses in the Bible speaks about God's face, and we use it quite often in worship. We say, "May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord's face shine upon you." How often we pass right over those words without even realize what we're saying. We're talking about the face of God. When we're done here, you could go and look up Numbers chapter 6, verses 24 to 26. And if you're with someone, make the sign of the cross on their forehead and say those familiar words. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord's face shine upon you. Finally, it would be fitting to end this devotional with a reminder. If you want to know what God looks like, the character and the will of God, we always encourage people to look to Jesus. Jesus is the face of God. Colossians 1:15 says this about Jesus. He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. For by him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities, all things were created by him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. There are lots of questions we might ask ourselves now. Will I choose to wear a mask in public? Why or why not? How can I make others more comfortable at this time? And how can I set aside some of my prejudices and get to know my neighbor and their story more carefully when we're all living through this unique time? And maybe, most importantly, where is God showing God's face now? This is Pastor Jeff signing off from my neighborhood. We love you, Celebration. Be well.